How we going, folks? Welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin, and welcome to day number 13 of our Judas Priest series, our countdown to Invincible Shield, where every day we are going through a Judas Priest album. We are working our way through the back catalogue, all the way down to the release of the new album, Invincible Shield. A metal advent calendar, if you will. So here we are, day number 13, and we are at Jugulator. Rob is out, and Tim Owens is in. So let's rewind. The band, it seems like they've found a new creative peak with Painkiller. Arguably the best album they've ever done, and certainly the best album they've done in a while. But things weren't too happy within the band. Depends what you read. I mean, I had a look at this. I remember Rob's autobiography as well. Was it called Confess? And I don't know, it just seemed like they were just getting on each other's nerves for various different reasons. I think the that court case had kind of drained them as well a bit. And I think the landscape was changing and a few different things were going on, and Rob left the band. Although he has since stated that he didn't intend to leave the band literally just on paper, because he wanted to do another project and couldn't because of the contract, so he just wanted to leave on paper, do his project and come back. But the band never saw it that way, or he certainly didn't put it across that way. But when everything I've read, I just think, couldn't you lot have just spoke to each other? I don't see what it is with bands. Why can't no one just ring the other person and just go, what's going on, mate? And then have it out. They all hide behind managers and bureaucracy and all the rest of it. But it seems like it was all very unnecessary and could have been avoided and could have been sorted a hell of a lot sooner than it was. But anyway, I digress. I'm just not sure where to start. So anyway, right, so Rob leaves Judas Priest and he does his project Fight, which is a bit more in line with what was going on. Basically, Rob wanted to be in Pantera, and he formed Fight. But funnily enough, Scott Travers was also in that band, and they did 2 albums. And everything the band did is collected here in this box set, Into the Pit. What do you get? You get 3 CDs and a DVD, and I think there was another. Oh no, that's a film called Spin. Was there? Yeah, I think there was another DVD that wasn't on this one, which there used to be this, I can't remember what it was called now, but you would get DVDs delivered to you, and then you sent them back, and then they sent you another one, and you had a list, and they worked their way through the list. And basically, I used to get all the music DVDs and copy them. So there was a Fight DVD that I must have got that isn't in this box set, so I just stuck it in there. So this loose CD's thrown me off. Anyway, with this box set, you get... Let's see if there's anything cool in here. So you get the War of Worlds album. You get the Mutations EP. And what else do you get? You get another album as well, but I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, Small Deadly Space. This is Rob doing his best Phil Anselmo impression. And cool photo there. And yeah, so what you get 2 albums, an EP, and a compilation basically of live footage, which is pretty cool. I mean, I don't know how much this would be now. I'm guessing it's pretty rare. There's another picture of Rob there. Ultimately, I mean, I'm glad I've got everything in this, and I'd have to give it a re-listen, actually. I remember thinking it was quite good, although of its time. Yeah. If you are enjoying this series, let me know in the comments if you want me to carry on once all the Priest albums are done. Do you want me to do Fight 2, Halford's solo albums? Glenn did a couple of solo albums as well. I've done the KK Priest albums separately because I've reviewed them as they've come out. Although I will add them to this playlist at the end once Invincible Shield's done. Yeah, just let me know. Do you want me to carry on with the odds and sods in between? But yeah, so Rob does that, and then eventually Judas Priest get their act together and put out a new album with a new singer. There's a bit of a gap as well between when was so Painkiller was 1990. This came out in 1997, so that's a 7-year gap. And Judas Priest would have done their first 6 or 7 albums in that period, in the first 7 years of their career. So that's a pretty big gap for their standards. In terms of, Scott Travers as well returns on. This is the thing as well. Scott was off touring and recording with these albums, so he came back to the band. Why couldn't they have just rung Rob at this point? I don't know. But yeah, so I forget the guy's name. Ray, is it? From Gamma Ray, or Ralph? The singer of Gamma Ray apparently was in line for it. Apparently there was talks of Sebastian Bach auditioning. Apparently they were talking about getting Devin Townsend in. Imagine how that would have sounded. But eventually, they settled for Tim. I think it was the right choice as well, getting an unknown, someone who can grow into the role, rather than someone who might have been on par with Rob, where it would have been, like when Ian Gillan joined Black Sabbath. But now, I've heard conflicting stories here. So the classic story with Tim is that he was in a Judas Priest tribute group, the band caught sight of him and hired him. This is the version of things that kind of got immortalised in the film Rockstar, that Judas Priest starred Mark Wahlberg. Zach Wilde was in that as well. Jennifer Aniston was in it. And it was... Apparently, Priest were initially involved in the film, and then they withdrew, so they changed it to Steel Dragon and all that. But that's the urban myth, is that, they hired a guy in a tribute band. But I've also read that he wasn't in a Judas Priest tribute band. He was in a metal covers band that did cover Judas Priest songs. So I've read both. I've read it was a covers band that went under a couple of different pseudonyms. And I've heard that it was a Judas Priest tribute band. Who knows, really? Either way, doesn't really matter, because whatever version of the story is true, either way, a video of Tim singing Judas Priest songs came to the attention of KK and Glenn. And also, they didn't completely pick him out of obscurity either, because he had recorded an album with the band Winter's Bane. And this is a really good album. If you want to check it out, I recommend it. It's Heart of a Killer. Definitely worth checking out. And to be honest with you though, I mean, Tim is a monumental singer, and as you know, eventually, Rob would come back. But I think getting the boot from Judas Priest actually did him a favour, because he's gone on to be, he's gone on to have a fantastic career in his own right, and he's more than shaken off he's not known as the guy that was in Judas Priest that wasn't Rob Halford. He's not known as that anymore. He's now known as Tim Owens. And, he went on to be in Iced Earth, went on to did Beyond Fear, which is a good project, Charred Walls of the Damned, which is phenomenal. He did a pretty good solo album. He ended up being snapped up for Dio Disciples. When Ronnie James Dio's band decides to tour again, and you pick, that's 2 major bands, Judas Priest and Dio's band, that have chosen him to take the helm. I know he wasn't the only singer in Dio Disciples, but the point remains the same. And the Three Tremors. Let me think. Is there any others? I'm sure there is. He's done project after project. And to be honest, I've never heard a bad album by him. In all fairness, it's always been solid, good metal release. His vocals have always been great. And I've seen him in a couple of different projects. I've seen him solo, doing a Judas Priest set. I've seen him in Dio Disciples. I've seen the Three Tremors. And obviously now he's in KK's Priest. And yeah, he's done really well. So, whatever your problem is with this era of the band, if you do have one, it's not Tim's fault. He is just as good a singer as Rob. He can hit just as much. He can hit the high notes just as much. And yeah, I guess let's go into the album and get into the songs. I mean, right, I will go as well. Do you know what I did mean to do? I meant to go through the artwork because do you remember I said in Victim of Changes you got this symbol here? That's in the symbol of Painkiller as well. Do you know what? I don't know if this is the Painkiller or if this is a villain. I think it is the Painkiller, and the Jugulator is the villain. Let's get this right. That is the original artwork there, and this actually extends so you see more of the sky. What was wrong with? I've found another version of the artwork, which is the thumbnail of this video. What was wrong with Judas Priest there, Jugulator there? Why did we get this zoomed in image? It bothers me to this day because that would have been just as good as Painkiller. That would have been selling t-shirts everywhere. I did have a poster of this when Tim was doing his solo tour, when he was doing music from these two albums that he did with a band. But it got lost in many of my moves. But I digress again. So yeah, is Jugulator any good? Yeah, it's one of their best albums. Yeah, let's get that out of the way. You can all the haters can start typing away. I think it's a great album. It sounds modern, sounds fresh, it's chunky, it's heavy. And yeah, one of the biggest detractors, one of the biggest criticisms of the Tim Owens era is the lyrics are really corny. Hello, this is Judas Priest. Where have you been? Is the answer there. Up until this point, and I've never really pointed it out, but all the music was written by KK Downing and Glenn Timpton, and all the lyrics were written by Rob. Maybe with an exception here and there, but that was generally the bulk of the songwriting. On this and the following album, it's all written by KK and Glenn. So all the music and the lyrics as well. So Tim had no writing on any of these albums. So again, he can't be blamed for this period of the band failing, so to speak. Although I think that when this album came out, the band did get a bit of a renewed interest because they had been away, so they came back. You got to go away in order to come back. But yeah, so the title track and opening track, Jugulator, kind of starts off all industrial. There's like a bit of a spoken word build-up intro, and then it kicks into this real quick, fast with Scott's thundering drums underneath. And when it comes into the chorus, the old Jugulator, Tom just hits those high notes. It's a good opener. Then we get Bloodstained, opening with a pretty cool melodic, clean part, and then it kicks into this nice Pantera. It's funny, isn't it? Because Rob goes off and does a load of groove metal when they come back with it. Yeah, and it comes to a big chorus, and it pretty much. I do really, really like this album, and it is actually one of my favourite Priest albums, and I think this does seem to have a cult following, and a lot of people do stand by it, and I think the reason is because it's just been drummed into us that it was terrible. Rob Halford's not on it, and it's kind of been buried by the band as well, both the albums with Tim. So when people hear it, they go, oh my God, like, what was wrong with this? Why is it unavailable? Why is it so expensive? It's not even on Spotify. And I looked up, on YouTube, and it's got Jugulator. Was it really that bad? It's not that bad. It's one of the best. What are you talking about? But I will say, what is wrong with the album is that it is a little too long. I mean, it is just under an hour long. It could easily have been 45 minutes. All the songs do have really long intros. There's lots of gaps in the songs, and I will say they do fall into a bit of a formula where we've got a groove, mid-pace groove, when a few faster songs in the. But don't get me wrong, the speed is there. Like Scott is on fire on this album, on the drums. There are fast sections, but the main bulk of the song, a song like Leather Rebel or All Guns Blazing, would have gone down, well Could have done with a bit more of that. And it could have done with a bit of an edit and a tidy up. But that being said, all the songs on here are good. I really like Death Row. Abductors is pretty good as well. I like at the end, it's a story of being abducted by aliens, obviously. And at the very last line is, or am I just a liar? Which I thought was quite good. Burning Hell, they've pulled that out with KK Priests. They've been doing that one. And yeah, I suppose the big crowning achievement, though, the one that really sets this apart, this is like your payoff for giving this album a chance, is Cathedral Spires, which is an epic song. I mean, you know, it's nearly 10 minutes long. It's a beautiful melodic theatrical piece, really, and with a real heavy chorus. And it's kind of like Judas Priest's Hallowed Be Thy Name, really. And yeah, the band have really done themselves a disservice by not playing it live ever. Tim did play it live when he did his solo tour, doing a Judas Priest Tim era set. He was doing it. He didn't when I saw him though, and but there is footage of him doing it. So hopefully KK's Priest will pull that out and actually eventually play it, because I don't know if you've seen, but KK was in Blabbermouth the other day, saying how it's unfair how those two albums have been buried, and he's saying it's become evident to me playing with KK's Priest, like I can be more adventurous with the set list, and people want to hear Cathedral Spires, they want to hear Burn It, like, and he said a bunch of songs, and he even said when he played Burning Hell, that's the one the crowd goes crazy for. So hopefully going forward we are going to get more songs from these two albums with KK's Priest. But yeah, Cathedral Spires is worth the admission price alone, and it's just a different album, and it's great hearing Tim give a. With a new singer, he's just familiar enough for it to still sound like Priest, but he's got his own stamp on things as well. And yeah, I think he does a great job on this, and I think the band deliver a great album. Could have done with a bit more variation, and songs could have done with a tidy up and a bit of a snip here and there, but I think this is an underrated gem in the catalogue. And I'd give it about an 8 out of 10. 7 or 8 out of 10. And yeah, I think that's about it. Off the back of that, though, we have Judas Priest's Metal Meltdown. No, what is it? 98 Live Meltdown. And this is a double album with Tim, obviously on this tour. And this is probably my favourite Judas Priest live album. Yeah, it's that good. Yeah, Unleashed in the East is a classic, and classic for a reason. I'm just looking at the I've got a pile of DVDs over there, ready for when I need them. But maybe Rising in the East. But no, yeah, playing it in the car, playing it the most often. Tim is phenomenal. It sounds awesome, and the set list is to die for. Basically, it's their best set. It's nice and varied. There's loads of old songs on there, loads of classic songs, the heavy songs, and there's a good dose of Jugulator on there as well. With the well, what you got? You got 12. Yeah, you got. Sorry, I'm having a thing there. I was just reading the. You got 23 songs here, and 5 of them are from Jugulator. So, yeah. If you can get hold of it, get hold of it. But definitely get hold of that as well, because it's a phenomenal album. And yeah, I think Tim well earns his place in the band with these 2 releases. So, yeah, we're coming to the Tim Owens era of the band. I think it's an underrated, underappreciated couple of albums. And yeah, let me know what you think. This is another one that divides the room. But you can't tell me that this is worse than Point of Entry or Ram It Down. You know, I know it's not Rob, but at the end of the day, Rob did come back, so you can enjoy this for what it is, because Rob did come back in the end. And is this worse than what Rob was doing with Fight? That's another question for you. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you tomorrow for Demolition. Thanks for watching. Cheers.